that changed my life forever, obviously, and set me on a stage to be with the Lord and to be with the Mother like never before. And it was in these times that the Blessed Mother brought herself back to me through that image of Medjugorje. And Sandy was getting worse. Things were getting harder and harder. But in the meantime, she decided she wants to become Catholic, which was pretty cool. And so we went through RCIA, and I realized how much I didn't know. And I've been to Catholic school. Well, it was only 8 years. You're not paying attention that much anyway. I said, but now I'm in my 30s and I don't know a thing. And I remember thinking, oh, that's why we do that? That's what Eucharist means? This, that. So I joined the RCIA team to help teach it so I could learn it. And by then my guitar skills were beginning to pick up. It was now me and the accordion player. About being embarrassed. Oh my God, how do you play with a Polish guy like, and he could wheel that thing. He could wheel that thing. I think, how am I going to play guitar with him? You know, he goes, da, 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 da. Well, I was so frightened to play guitar in front of everybody that I stood behind him. I literally hid. But then by listening to him, I was learning how to rhythm. And then I realized, oh wow, I'm learning how to rhythm this guitar in a different way than what you would normally learn, I guess. So then he gets prostate cancer, and he has to go out because of radiation and that. Now it's just me. So that's when you say holy and a bunch of swear words right after. And but the Lord yanked me out, you know, and he put me in front of everybody, and he taught me. I mean, this was trial by fire. That was hard for me, but I pulled it out, and I longed for it, and I loved it, and I hated it all at the same time, you know. But then people would just start affirming me, and I came to realize I'm starting to come on my own in this. So, and then that's where that music journey took off in another way, and playing at conferences and stuff like that. So the guitar came all in that midst of time. My friend who was raising his hands, him and his wife played as part of the music group when I was there. And I had a friend in high school taught me 3 chords in guitar in high school, and I never picked it up after that. He had his guitar out and he ran upstairs for something, so I picked his guitar up and I could play the chords like I've always known them. He comes downstairs, he said, you can play guitar? I said, nope. And I gave it back to him because I knew what was coming next, you know. And I ain't singing either, I said. So next thing I know, he goes out, buys a new guitar, and gives me this guitar.
Oh, wow.
And that's how my process started learning. And so I was trying to teach myself piano, and I was trying to teach myself guitar. And I was going nowhere really fast. So I remember sitting at this old piano. I said, okay, Lord, this ain't working. I said, what do you want me to play? And that's what I'll learn. And that's when I heard him say, I want you to play guitar. I said, why? It's because you can take that wherever you go. You can't pull the piano with you all the time, you know. And I said, okay. And then I couldn't afford lessons, but wherever I wanted, whatever I needed to learn next, someone would come into my life who understood, who had that knowledge, and would give me the information, and then I would take it and I'd practice and practice and practice. It was kind of easy to practice for 3 hours because my wife was drunk and knocked out. Okay, so I had all that time, you know. I shouldn't say that as a joke, but that's what it was. It was me, the animals, and the guitar. And so I always say the Lord taught me how to play guitar by bringing people into my life. And so it was also in that time I discovered CCL. And our church was getting ready to close, so they would have these gatherings once or twice a year. You'd have a mass at the old church, and then we would go to a hall and have dinner. And I'm going for the first time, and I said, Lord, help me meet 2 people. That's all I ask. Someone from the Fabian family, and my 8th grade teacher. Her name was Sister Karen. I don't know her last name. You might know her. Hover. I mean, as a kid, you never know her last name. It's just Sister Karen.
Right.
And anyway, I'm standing in line talking to Sister Karen at the hall, and out of nowhere I hear, Tommy Clark! And I knew exactly who it was, and I thought, wow, both at the same time, Lord, this is awesome, you know. And I said, well, I want to see Sister Karen, but Mom's going to want to see you. She's, okay, come get me when you're done. And then I took her to my mom, and that's when you started sharing about CCL. And my heart just grabbed. I said, that's it. That's what I need to do. So that's what I want to do. And so I shared it with her, and that process started. So all of that happening while I'm trying to work a marriage that's just flat out falling apart, no matter what you try. And my saving grace was having a spiritual director. And she walked with me, she worked with me, she brought healing into me through the Lord. And the whole time I'm starting to become aware of who I am as a man of God. And I'm starting to understand it. And I'm starting to really appreciate it. And then, eventually it led to us getting a divorce, which was on our 20th anniversary. The day we would have celebrated 20 years, we got divorced. And it's just kind of odd that it was on that day. It was a very dark, dark day. And but it was what it was. And in the meantime, I'm in school. And I went to school because the Lansing Diocese opened up their program for the diaconate, and I wanted to be a deacon. And I said to the Lord, I want to do that. He says, yeah, but you need to become spiritually mature first. So all these other avenues I've been in was that journey. And so now I'm in school. And it was through that I became divorced and went from there. But all in that journey, in the midst of all that heartache, the Lord is shaping me, He's forming me, He's building me, and He's making me something. And the day after I left Sandy, the day after I woke up, my parents were in Florida for the summer, for the winter, so I went there, and I woke up at 4 in the morning, like it was 10 o'clock in the morning. I was wide awake. I thought, wow, this is really great, and I feel really good. I might as well just stay up. I went in the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, and I just stared at myself. And I looked at myself, and I said, I really am in love with you. And for the first time in my life, I understood that I loved who I was and who God was making me to be. And I never, ever thought I'd reach that point, ever. And so all that came from the beginnings of that prayer group. And it brought me into new life. It brought me into where I wanted to go. And so school became important because I obviously didn't become a deacon. Because in my class on ministry, they were talking about being a DRE, being a pastoral associate. And my friend, who's now a deacon, I looked at him and I said, did she just say you could work for the Catholic Church and get paid? He goes, yeah, I think that's just what she said. I said, I know what I want to do when I grow up. And I was 43 years old. And I had never had an ideal of what I wanted to be. And it's probably a good thing, or I would not have been able to deal with the marriage that I had. I may not have taken the time to grow that the Lord taught me to grow. So now I've got this avenue, and I just knew I was going to do it. I just knew I was going to do it. And so I get a divorce. I got 1 or 2 classes left, and then Penny and I are now together. So now, Penny had come to some of our praise gatherings that we had created. So I came from this scared kid standing behind an accordion player to creating a music group and creating these praise events that brought speakers in. They weren't always anything really big, but they were special. And we would do praise worship, and we'd have people there. And those of you who know Deacon Pete Cornell, that's who we brought in a lot. That's how I met him, because I was playing music with Steve and his group. And so he would come in and he would do these talks, and it just was just awesome stuff to be able to be a part of. And then Phil died. And I just called Penny up one day. I said, look, I know you've got a large family and you have all these people down here, and I'm way up here. I said, but if you ever need someone to pray with or talk to, just call me. And she did.
Wow.
And we would pray and we would talk a long time. And so I want to tell this story because this is another new life for me, was being with Penny. We just stayed as friends, but we were doing a youth gathering up in Algonac. And I said, look, I think you need to come. I was learning this song, He Knows My Name. And I says, I'm learning it for you. The Lord's given me a song and you need to hear it. I said, but you need to hear it here. I just can't tell you it. I said, so if you're able to, come. So she had 4 friends coming, and they're going to stay at the house, and the other friends backed out. I says, well, look, I'll get you a hotel, and if you want, come up. And she did. And and she heard that song, you know. And then afterwards, we walked. So this is Algonac, so there's this boardwalk all along the river up there, the St. Clair River. And it was, what, 10:45 when we were pulling out. And I said, I'm kind of geeked up. This stuff really makes me fired up. I said, you want to go for a walk? She said, well, no one's ever asked me to do that before. I said, well, let's go for a walk. And we walked till about 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
And then that next day we were at another event together. And I never met Phil. I met him one time just to say hello. And if he had something to say, he wasn't saying it to me. Okay? And so that next day, so that was a Saturday, Sunday, Mercy Sunday. We played at chapel, and Penny's taking off. And as Penny left the house, I felt Phil's presence. And he says, I need you to look after Penny.
Wow.
I need you to be with her. And I said, I can do that. At the same time, because I called her and told her this. And she says, well, you'll never believe, I just felt him too. And I felt him being glorified into heaven. And he told me that you're my surrogate husband. So I said, well, we better pay attention to this. You know? and that's how our relationship started. And then, and up until then, we were just friends. And we just stayed friends for a while. And then until we couldn't any longer. So then I'm ready to end my diaconate, and usually you have to be married 5 years before they'll let you be a deacon. And we knew we were engaged, we were going to get married. And they said, well, usually we can't let that happen, but we know who you are, we know the ministries you do, we know what kind of student you were, we'll allow you in, even though you're just going to get married. And Penny just graduated from nursing school. I was finishing my studies, and I knew I was going into church work, and so we decided not to. We discerned not to, because we didn't want too much on our plate, and we wanted to be good at what we did. And so then I became a DRE at St. John's in Ypsilanti, and I really flourished in that role, far more than I ever thought I would, because there's no training for it, and they want you to have a degree. But there was no degree that teaches you how to be a DRE. It's just go in and figure it out. And so you do. And I stayed there 2 years, then I went to St. Joe's up in Trenton. And I think working for the church killed my desire to be a deacon. Because I met some great deacons, and they were really great guys, and they said, don't be in a hurry, because it's going to consume you. And I was already consumed. I understood consumption, because the church work sucks it out of you, because you're doing everything in your job, and no one knows what you do. So it was my best times and some of my worst times, because I worked with priests who had no clue or respect for what you do. As soon as someone says, well, Tom never comes into the office, they believe them, you know. And, you know, how do you not hit a priest? So, anyhow, that was hard. So I think working for the church took the desire of the diaconate out of me, because that would be one reason. But it's not what causes it. I realized that what I do, I'm meant to keep doing, at least for a while. And I'm not ready to trade the music ministry. I'm not ready to trade the prayer ministries, the different ministries the Lord has us doing. I'm not ready to trade those off into that type of ministry. So coming into being married with Penny, interestingly, through a marriage like I've had with Sandy, I understood that, you know, that if two people would just give of themselves, marriage just would be beyond beautiful. They would just have to agree to give of themselves. And I shared that with her, and she understood it. And that's how we try to live, you know, to put each other first. And so I came from a marriage that scorched and tried you, but in the meantime, in that trial, the Lord shapes, and He prepared me for a healthy marriage, and one that we rejoice in every day. And so, being a DRE, I got to be a youth minister, and I would take kids out to an Indian reservation out in South Dakota. We did that like 7 times, and as hard as that was, some of my best memories of church work, trying to form kids, and then seeing the ones who wanted to be formed, seeing that take shape, and you realize the Lord worked through you, and now the Lord's working through them. It was just a beautiful thing. And now I'm working at the Archdiocese, and I'm thinking, how am I so lucky to get to do what I get to do? You know, as a DRE, I'd go to all these functions that the Archdiocese would put on for us, and I'm sitting in a group of 400 people. I thought, I wonder what it would be like to put something like this on. That would be kind of neat. It would be really nice to be one of those people up there teaching all of us. And that's what I do. And I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. So the day that came about, I was getting tired where I was at St. Joe's because it was so trying and it was so time consuming. And I was almost ready to give up the youth ministry and tell the priest, I can only do these 5 things, not this 6th thing. Because that's his own full-time job when you want to do it right. And if you've been involved, I think you have, and you have, you know what I mean. It's not just we meet and it's done, you know, it's all the time. And I was getting tired. And so the lady I replaced, she sent a message out, and she said she was moving to the evangelization department, so there'll be a vacancy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, wow, I wonder how they're going to replace her. Because she's a pretty knowledgeable lady, and she's got a lot of gifts. And I instantly felt the Lord say, I want you to apply for it. Well, I don't got that ability. I don't have that knowledge. I don't have those gifts. Those people got a master's degree. I don't have that. And they have all this, and she can speak Spanish. I only speak English. And da-da-da-da-da-da. And it was going on and on and on. And I said, okay, fine. If this is from you, then make it burn in my heart. And if it's not from you, then take the desire out of me. Because I could feel the desire burning. There was a spark of hope. And then it just kept building into a flame. So after about a week, I said, okay, I'll apply. So I called the lady who's my boss, Sister Kathleen Matz, if anybody knows her. And I already knew the ladies I was going to be working with by doing what I do. And I had gotten to know them. So I called her up and I said, look, I'm interested in applying for this position. But before I even start this whole process, do you and the other ladies feel that I'm going to be a good fit? And please tell me the truth, because if you don't think I will, then I don't belong where there. And she just got all excited. I can't believe you'd want to apply for this. We would love to have you here. Then I called another person that I work with and asked the same question, and she had the exact same response. So I shared that with Penny, and we agreed, okay, oh crap, now I gotta do a resume. I'm getting too old for this, you know? And so next thing I know, I'm researching how to do resumes, I'm doing this, and it's all taking shape. I thought, wow, I thought this was going to take me a year. In a couple of days, this is taking its form. And I looked it over, I said, holy cow, look what I've done. Look what I do. And I called Penny up, I said, look what the Lord has me doing. I said, I have every bit of the ability for this job. I may not have that education level, but I got the experience level probably deeper than some of them. So that's how that took present. And, you know, when I was a DRE, I was trying to form a new curriculum based on a personal relationship with Christ. And I couldn't get the priests to work with me, and I kept changing over the existing programs and from the different publishers, and they would give you so much, but not the depth you really needed. So I'd bring the guitar in and force them kids to sing, and they'd roll their eyes, and oh my God, you know, sometimes it was drudgery and sometimes it was a blast, you know, and I had all this stuff going, and so a friend and I, we start creating this curriculum, and then he ends up dying. So I never completed it because I went to the Archdiocese. And so in order to be ready for my interview, Sister Kathleen asked me to read Unleash the Gospel, which was just released in 2017 by the Archbishop. She says, just be familiar with it, and here's where you want to know. And she gave me the pages and everything. It's like she set this interview up for me, you know. And I looked at it, and I yelled out to Penny, hey, Penny, guess what? I said, the Archbishop wants the Catholic Church to become charismatic, but I don't think he knows it. You know? And I thought, and then I said, can you believe it? I've been trying to do everything he's asking here for the last 10 years and no one's listened to me. Now he puts it in writing and it's this big deal, you know? So, but my joy is I get to go out and teach it. I've been able to go out to the parishes and to the catechists and to the teachers and to the ministerial staffs of churches and teach and just give retreats and do things that were always in the bottom of my heart that I wanted to do, and there it's unfolding. So that spawned into doing retreats. Penny and I have done several retreats together through the Charismatic Renewal, which is just a joy being able to do ministry with your spouse and sharing it and listening to her and her listening to me and then bouncing off one another. It's become a joy to us. And so that's where I'm at. You know, that journey. I hope it wasn't too long. And but it was a joy to share with everybody, because it's not something I've shared to this extent. And I urge you to share yours so we can all hear yours too, of how God moves in your life, because we all get to share that movement anyway, especially as community, but you know, and not just friends, but as a very special family. We share in one another's gifts, we share in each other's spirituality, we bounce off of each other's spirituality, where one has this, another has that, and it all becomes one body, just like the mystical body, just like the church. So thanks for listening. That's my story.
All right.
I got one